That outfit is amazing. So, okay, for those of you watching, this is because I posted an image of a TikTok. You've got to let me get your microphone going. I posted a TikTok of a guy in a bear outfit doing these dances on TikTok, and I told George that I was going to wear a bear outfit, and then he said he was going to wear a dinosaur outfit. Hey George, I don't think you're connected to the audio, man. That outfit is amazing. I love the fact that you just have like a dinosaur outfit lying around your house as well, right?
Computer's order. There we go. That's better.
Perfect, brother. That's amazing. Yeah, I was just telling the guys who will be watching this later. I somehow discovered. I think I saw on my buddy John Dempsey Instagram feed of this bear that does these dances on TikTok. And he does them very well. A guy dressed in a bear's outfit, and I told you that I was going to dress in a bear outfit, and you said you were going to dress in a dinosaur outfit, and you actually did dress in a dinosaur outfit, and you look fantastic. Do you just have that outfit lying around the house, George?
It's my best way of defending myself against Nerf guns.
I see.
So my kids do Nerf guns, and I run around anywhere, and I don't get hit by Nerf guns. It's one of the best things.
Amazing. Okay, so I have a quote that I would like to read to you.
Yeah.
Turn the light off this. For some reason. Okay, there we go. So my quote is, so I was watching this great documentary on Dave Chappelle, right? I think they just honored him. He just won like the Mark Twain Award. And there was this moment where it cuts to him hosting Saturday Night Live. And he, without getting, into you involved in politics, just what happened was he was hosting the Saturday Night Live that happened the day after the elections and when Donald Trump had won. And so, of course, the mood amongst the cast, who most likely were not, supporters of Donald Trump, was really dismal, and no one even knew if they could actually put on a show that night. Such was their level of depression. And he sat down next to them and he said, I'm going to read you a quote from Toni Morrison. And he's also mentioned he's not a guy that normally, is given to quoting other people. But the quote goes as like this: "This is precisely the time when artists go to work. There is no time for despair, no place for self-pity, no need for silence, no room for fear. We speak, we write, we do language. That is how civilizations heal."
Wow.
Well, and I love that quote because any of us that work in, I guess, a creative capacity, because we got bad grades in school, I guess what the point is, it's our responsibility now to entertain, to uplift, to write, to video, to interview, to speak, to do anything, because that helps people get their mind off of what's going on, without dismissing it, but and to enjoy themselves and to engage with other people. And you were the first guy of anyone that I knew who started doing these sort of dialogues. I remember you messaged me, and I had just gotten out of quarantine, 14 days quarantine here, and you said, hey, I have this idea. I want to start doing like these kind of Q&A sort of sessions, these really kind of cool Proustian questions. And so you were the first one to start this, and it's now become this kind of thing. It's like, it's really gained this momentum, and you've got everyone, I guess, clearly wanting to participate, from Max Buser to Jean-Claude Biver to whoever, So how did you come up with this idea, and what motivated you to start this?
You started it. I know that sounds strange, but it was you on your plane when you were flying back, and you were flying back, and then there was something, and you were talking, and I just thought, shit, I want to know more. Sorry, I'm swearing, but I wanted to know more. And I was just like, there's so many people I want to question that have questioned me. And I was just like, you're the person that started all of this because you inspired me to do this. And I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. It was you on that plane. And I think you were sitting in Singapore Airlines, and you were sitting in the lounge area or on the plane. And I just thought, actually, this was the coolest thing. And I was like, I love when you do those, sometimes the rants and raves, sometimes the buggy style. And I was just like, I'm going to miss this if we haven't got people traveling, if we haven't got people telling us what's happening. So I was just like, actually, I want to know what's in your mind, what's happening. And like, you know, at the moment we've got, so yesterday we had Cara, today we've got Catherine from Tag Heuer, and just, she is, and you understand why I'm like, and you as well, like what cigar you're smoking, I was just like, I want to know this stuff. And I was like, I hope other people want to know it. And then it's now kind of gained a bit of momentum. But it's been really fun. I've enjoyed it.
That's amazing. I can only imagine you're probably now more busy in isolation than you already were, and you were a busy guy, you know. Just to go back to the kind of, you know, I was talking to just, I guess, to the phone, to the people on Instagram, which is friends, when I was flying back. I'd taken a flight relatively early into when things started to get quite serious. And what the prevailing thing that I was feeling at that moment was a sense of regret. I felt a sense of regret because I hadn't taken it seriously enough. Like I think 5 weeks ago when we first found out, we were all quite dismissive about it. I was still, you know, going out to dinners, going out to restaurants that were very, very.
We had lunch.
Yeah, exactly.
We had lunch before. You're totally right, and it was an empty restaurant. God, that food was amazing. I would still dream of that. But you're right, we were exactly the same.
Yeah, you know, and no one was really taking it that seriously. And then it was almost within just a 2-day, 48 hours, you could see the cases sort of escalating. And you could see also how, in some ways, it was really strange because you had all these, you know, this conversations about our European Union, for example. You had all conversations about unity. But the first reaction was almost every man for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Countries were closing borders. And it was suddenly this sort of like feeling that I wasn't used to, where everyone was kind of becoming extremely insular, you know. And my regret was partially that, but also partially because I in some ways had perpetuated this sense of bravado about like, it's fine, drink a Negroni, you won't get coronavirus. And now, you know, 5 weeks later or a full month later, you see how it's affected so dramatically the entire world. I mean, it fills me with this great sadness, you know, and I mean, it's hard sometimes to escape from that, you know. I don't know if you have a similar feeling.
No, look, I think some days, look, someone described it as a roller coaster. I would say to you and I, we're in a very nice environment. So, you know, there is people that are in harder environments than what we are in. But what I would say to you is, yes, there's a roller coaster of ups and downs, and you know, but I also realize that people are going through massive ups and downs themselves. You know, you look, coming from England, you go for the NHS, you look at the NHS workers. I had to go to hospital a few weeks over the weekend. Not for me, it was my, you're trying to keep everyone safe, and my son anyway fell and broke his arm, and so we had to go to the hospital. The NHS workers are the coolest, amazing. I mean, they are kind of rock stars, and you kind of see them, and you're just like, and I can say rock stars about a few people, but these, you know, we were being we looked after, we went into the A&E, we did all these things. So now I'm in self-isolation again, right. But they were amazing. It was my 3-year-old kid, and it was just like, and they looked after him, they did, and you just go, wow. You know, these are people on the front line. You know, they're not military, they are nurses, they're doctors. That for me, yeah, there's downs, but then I kind of go to myself, and every single day I think, get up and be happy that we're here and we're doing something. And you know, that's the creative side of it. And you know, you were talking about quotes. I've got, you know, there's all those great quotes. I'm trying to pull it up on the thing because I'm going to get it wrong. But there is a quote, you know the Winston Churchill quote of, you know, if you're going through hell, carry on going. But there's a quote that I love that was Bear Grylls' quote. It's only when we get kicked down that we see what we are made of. It's easy to be positive when everything is going well, but the heart of all great endeavors is the ability to stagger back to our feet and keep moving forward, however grim it gets.
You know, I have to say you know, and London is kind of a second home for me because the Rake is based out there. But I have just been so impressed as a nation about how everyone has kind of rallied together. I think one of the coolest things I saw was the NHS had sort of calculated that they would need 250,000 volunteers just to help out in case, so the medical system wouldn't get overwhelmed. And within a day, they had 650. I mean, I love that.
But it is, but around the world, there's people coming, you kind of sent me a few ideas on questions, and there was one that you said, what have I done? And I was just like, honestly, I haven't done enough in comparison to everyone else. There is so many people out there that I can't toot my whistle because, yeah, I know what I've done, but Jesus Christ, the people that are doing, I mean, we've got this amazing, Captain Fantastic. There's
more. Yeah.
He is a rock star. I'm like, he is so cool. And you're like, no wonder he's raising that money. He is just like, oh my God. And you kind of go, wow.
Yes, folks. So for those of you who may not be aware, though I'm sure you all are, Captain Tom Moore is a gentleman who's, I believe, is like 100 years old. And he's
99. I think he's 99, or he hits his 100 this year.
And he decided that he would raise money to help out the NHS. And
I think it was £1,000 he wanted.
Yes, he wanted £1,000, and he was going to be. He's on a walker, so he's doing laps around his garden, and he raised. I mean, and it's such a demonstration of how big people's hearts are. I think was it like 12 or 15 million pounds, or something like that.
I think he's at 14 million now. I think, maybe when this goes out, he'll be at 15, whatever it is. Okay. He is just like, oh my God. And you see spirit of people getting behind and kind of pulling forward. And that for me is the coolest thing. And, and it's why, I send you those kind of music videos every so often. It's just like, you know that people you want to kind of just rock out sometimes.
Absolutely. So on the subject of music, and I made a post a couple of days ago, I think it was last week actually, where I think it's really interesting how music affects your mood in this context. And it was interesting also because, as I described in it, I'd never been kind of a Beatles guy. I'd always been a Rolling Stone guy. And when I grew up, you were one or the other. And I like the swagger and the kind of like pirate-like mystique, and I like the sex, drugs, and rock and roll of the Rolling Stones. And I always found the Beatles to be a little bit sort of, a little bit too kind of cute and idealistic for me. But then somehow something clicked, clearly within the context of where we are, and I started to really enjoy their music, and I look forward to listening to it every day. But I love the fact that, and we can talk about the DJ battles and all that later, that Swizz Beatz and Timbaland have set up, and I know you follow. But I know you're such a music guy because you are constantly sending me clips of music, and every morning when I receive them, it's something I don't know if I told you that I'll play when I'm doing my run or I'm doing my bike ride or whatever, So what are you listening to, and how does it affect your mood?
Okay, when you say about discovery, and I was never a Bruce Springsteen person. I literally, I used to take the pee out of people that like Bruce Springsteen. At the moment, oh my God, he's my man. There's something about him that's like literally, and there's a guy called Colter Wall as well. And both of them, I don't know what the hell's happening to me, but it's like, if I'm going on a run, I'm Bruce Springsteen and Colter Wall. And I'm like, what the beep has happened? Now, normally it's like big kind of, hip hop tracks, things like that are normally getting me up for running. And I'm Bruce Springsteen. I'm like going, what? It's amazing how your life switches and you go, yeah, I need some kind of really cool, different music. And so I'm being weird on the Bruce Springsteen because it was never my wheelhouse. And he's just kind of come and knocked me sideways. And Colter Wall, if you don't know him, he is amazing. There's also a guy, I brought my phone out because I thought, I've got to tell you, there's so many things. There's things like Nina Simone that can knock you here, that you just listen to her and you just go, oh my God, my day's just, it's transcended to a new world. But, I've got, where is the person? I can go through all the greats from Stevie Wonder and all those things but I've just been creating new playlists, and I feel like I'm back being a teenager, creating cassettes with love songs on. That's what I'm doing at the moment. So I've kind of got all these new playlists from, you know, things like that have got like Dark Fantasy from Kanye West, and I think it's Dark Fantasy. Yeah, Dark Fantasy, one of my favorite songs. You know, so you've got all of these different things. I've got to find this playlist because it's just there we go, a new set of songs. I'm gonna say some of them wrong, but there's some cool guys that you just go are making songs that you go. Duke Dermott. That's a kind of I loved his things. And I'm going to say it wrong because, as you may know or may not know, I'm highly dyslexic, so reading and writing is not the best. So it's but Duke Dermott is something I've just listened to, and there's some things that are kind of connecting that you just go, shit, this is awesome.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about Bruce Springsteen, because Bruce Springsteen is incredibly meaningful to me. You know, it's funny because I grew up in New York and Bruce Springsteen's from New Jersey. And it was funny because I remember I was having a conversation with the late Anthony Bourdain. He went to the same university that I went to. And I met him in Singapore when he was doing a show through my brother, and had this wonderful evening where, you know, we took him to this restaurant, which he would later feature in the show. And he was the coolest guy. And he said, because he was a punk rock guy, and so was I. And he said that when he was growing up, it was either punk rock or Bruce Springsteen. And I said, you know, I'm sorry, but I have to disagree, because I think you can love both. And Springsteen was so instrumental to me because there were these sort of huge sort of American ballads, you know, like Hemingway or Steinbeck or any of these sort of, or like Jackson Pollock's art. It was like this new original American art form. You know, his lyrics were so evocative to me. And as a 13-year-old kid, you know, who was an Asian kid growing up in America, I was like, you know, it's so funny, but I just love this music that talks about, you know, 69 396 Chevys and living in the Badlands and all this kind of thing. And then, funnily, I actually saw a movie, I think a year ago, called Blinded by the Light. And Blinded by the Light is a movie. It's a movie about, I think he's Pakistani, and he's growing up in England in like kind of one of the more, I guess, what, you know, sort of more working class kind of neighborhoods. And he suddenly discovers Bruce Springsteen. And it completely changes and uplifts and shapes his life, and he becomes a writer because of Bruce Springsteen. And you got to, if you can have access to the movie, check it out.
I'm going to watch that. What you said about the Beatles is exactly what I've just felt with Bruce Springsteen, and I'm like, what the hell? I also noticed your T-shirt today. I mean, like, you're talking about rocking. I'm like, that really is. That's kind of the ultimate T-shirt for that type of era.
Well, it's cool also because there's this brand called R13, and I discovered them in Berlin, but they've got a shop in Soho now, which of course is locked down like everyone else's, but I hope it reopens. And they actually make these GB's shirts, but they make them out of cashmere. So,
okay, so there's a normal T-shirt and then there's Way's T-shirt. Okay,
it's appropriate for a 50-year-old man trying to rock it. But being 50 years old, I was able to go to CBGB's when I was, 13 years old, I think, and see bands like the Talking Heads and see, kind of like,
wow.
I mean, and to see kind of like the original, I guess we were coming out of punk rock and into new wave at that point, but some really cool stuff to emerge from there. But that was also, that's when New York was so interesting also because it was so varied. I guess the issue today in New York is because it's so profoundly expensive. I guess you have this in England as well, that only kind of, affluent people of a certain, background can afford to live there. And so you take away all the edgy and kind of cool kids, but you need them because if you want anything interesting to flourish, whether it's artistically, from a culinary perspective, from an art perspective, you need this dynamic tension between high and low, right? And I remember what was great about going to clubs back then was it was never about bottle service. It was never about how much money are you going to spend. It was more like every door person felt like they were a curator of an art exhibit. And they're like, yes, I'm going to let this person in because they look really erudite and cool and from like, maybe a background with means. But then I'll also let this club kid in here that's a boy, but dressed as a woman because he's just cool looking, right? And I love that because I think that it creates a sense of democracy where people feel interconnected, and I know that.
And a sense of occasion.
Yes, it sets an occasion. And it also reminds us that there's commonality between all of us as well, So, okay, so tell me, how has your, because you seem to have an incredibly structured schedule, and you were, I think, one of the first people to realize that this was super important. because I let it, I mean, all slide initially. You know, I was waking up, making myself breakfast Negronis, I mean, eating like shit. And it took me 3 days before I realized that if this was going to continue, I was either going to kill myself or have a heart attack. And I was like, I need to get my shit back together. So that meant structuring my day like any other day, waking up, exercising, because I know that's both important for us, working with your mind, because that's important for us as well, and then connecting with people. How do you structure your day in this period?
Look, when you said about why was I early on and why do I put a shirt, and you know, because a lot of people say, why am I doing that? The thing is, it gives me structure already. As soon as I wake up, I put some rocking music on. I may look at the news for about 10 minutes and then I go, I don't, you know, that's there. And then the other thing is I'm lucky I've got kids, so they need structure. They need a proper structure. They don't need a lazy parents lying in bed. They need structure. They need entertainment. They need that type of side. I've got a great wife as well. So she's, you know, Leo, she's just a rock star. So she also pushes me as well, kind of says, hey, what are you doing today? Are you getting up? And yeah, my day is structured. You know, normally it's 9 o'clock. I have a team meeting with all my team. We chat, we go through everything. Normally it's the afternoon, evening when I'm doing Peloton. So it is in my office. I'm just going to turn it round. That's my Peloton. So, but normally it's Peloton, but someone challenged me to a run and now I'm starting running again. So thank you very much. But it's very much that clearing my head is going on to the Peloton and kind of doing my half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is. And I'm not saying clearing my head from anything else. It's just clearing my head from the day. You know, normally I'd be able to get into London and I'd go and do a run around Battersea or let's say one of the parks, and it's really nice to clear your head. And at the moment, Peloton's been that thing. So it's the stay-at-home idea. You know, I'm lucky I've got my kids. So what I mean is that for me gives me the structure. But it's also put a shirt on, feel like I'm actually going to do something. My son every morning goes, Daddy, where are you going today? I'm like, I'm kind of going to my desk, but it's still the structure of what am I doing? What, you know, where am I going? You know, just to make me feel like actually I've got structure, breakfast, lunch and supper.
That's awesome.
And I love as well with them. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I know that you, you know, part of that structure also, I wrote a story, I guess it's being posted on the Raker Revolution either today or tomorrow, but it's about, in addition to structuring my time, that I actually find watches more relevant during this period than ever. And the reason is that, like for every activity I'm doing, well, first of all, I'm locked up in my apartment where all my watches are, you know? And so I can kind of take one out and say, okay, well, I'm going to use this for this activity. So if I'm going to be on the bike or I'm going to go for a run, I'll take something like a titanium G-Shock or a spring drive from Grand Seiko. And then if I'm going to be doing like exercise that it is interval related, then I love chronographs, so I'll get to use those. For you, has the watch kind of gained in its relevance during this period? And if so, what are you playing with and what's, you know, making you happy?
Okay, well, firstly, I've got to say is your conversation with Aurel, it was awesome. I love that kind of should I sell, should I not sell? It just made me smile. So I just got to say, I know that the watches you've got with you, so I'm like, I kind of now know what you're doing. So yes, watches, look, honestly, I put a watch on for me. So and I know that's, you know, I do a post work from home wrist shop because Houdinki started this, one of the first things that they'd started. That I really love this, you know, work from home. But what you're saying about different structure of the day, Mayfair Sport, Bamford Mayfair Sport for when I'm running or on the Peloton. It's not about timing. I just love the rubber strap and I love putting it on my wrist. You know, what have I got on today? I've got CoverGirl on today.
Oh,
so I've got CoverGirl, and do you know, I love having CoverGirl on because it makes me smile. Now I look at all the value of all my watches, and I'm so happy that today they're probably worth nothing, but I'm happy because I've chosen them because they're all different. They're all pieces of my life in one watch, and so I look at them and I go, actually, I love living with it. I love, it's like with cars or anything. I would enjoy driving it or not. It's like wearing a watch, like CoverGirl. I geek out with how you've done the dial. I like how the whole thing is. I love the ladder bracelet. I love how it's put together. And I also love the switch of it. I love the Phillips one. I brought a few watches because I knew at some point you were going to talk about watches. But I love the Phillips one because I even love that your ladder bracelet is different to the Phillips one.
Yeah, they've got a straight lug one, and we've got it.
So for me, that's cool. I
love that watch. That's fantastic.
It's one of those things. Yeah. Too, you're talking about watches. It sounds strange. So it's a Popeye GMT.
Oh yeah, that's a great watch.
Now it makes me smile. I mean, literally, I put it on my wrist and I look down and I'm like going, you can't be moody when you're smiling.
Okay, so I know another one of your great hobbies is cars, and probably you're not getting a lot of opportunity to drive them during this period. Does that affect your mood in any way? Does that affect the way in which you appreciate them, or do you still love them just as much?
Okay, I love Landies, so Land Rovers, Defenders. Yes, I love cars, but I love Defenders, and I'm going to the shops to get food. So that you're allowed to drive to the shops to go and get some stuff. So I go to the shops probably once or twice a week max, and I enjoy being in a seat where my elbow is always out of the window. I've got a really old military Land Rover, and literally my elbow is out of the window. I put a sound system in that you would love because literally it's got some kind of booms behind me and it rocks. But I'm sitting there and I'm just like, actually, this is such a nice enjoyment. And I'm going probably 20 miles an hour or 30 miles an hour. I mean, literally, it doesn't go fast, but I don't care. I'm just enjoying it. I'm missing, when you ask, what am I missing? I'm missing taking a roof down on a car. I'm missing that. That would be my thing. And there's a car that I brought not very expensively. I call myself a magpie, but then someone said that's quite a sexual thing. So I was like, I'm not a magpie. But I like weird things. It's like I like Kentucky Hoya, because they're weird watches, but they personify something different and they have a different taste. It's like when you said to me, there's certain watches that you've got in your collection that, are totally different. Well, Nick Falks is also the same. Certain watches that you go, wow, but it suits, it works, and it's them. I've got a BMW Z1.
Oh, cool.
So 80s. This one is not in the best condition. It really is not in the camouflage has faded inside it. But Jesus Christ, I want to put the roof down. I want to put the doors down, and I want to drive it. That for me is one of the things that if put that roof down, and it's such an easy roof to do. It's just a click, push back. It's not the fastest. It's not the, it's something that I want to get into, and I just want to go, and even kind of fall into it, because you can never get into it elegantly.
Yes. Now, I know you mentioned that you had a lot of admiration for what Swiss Beats and Timbaland were doing in terms of the virtual DJ battles.
Have you checked it out?
Well, I checked it out because the RZA from Wu-Tang was battling DJ Premier.
He was awesome.
It's great.
I mean, I think to myself is we're getting so much amazing content to us from all of the major brands to things like, Swiss Beats and Timbaland. That thing, I mean, wow. I'm tuning in and just going, this is amazing.
What's amazing about it is when artists realize that they shouldn't be selfish with their art. Like, they shouldn't keep it for special occasions or when they're being paid, but they just give it. Like another guy, it's Gary Barlow. When he just does those sing-alongs.
Hey, your interview with him
Yeah.
But also you posted a video, or he put a video on his, you reposted, and we'd just come out of the hospital with my son, and I was just like, it raised the day up.
Oh, that's great.
And
Yeah.
I messaged you, and I just went, we're so lucky, you know, to have people like that just give you stuff that makes, and I'm, you know, I'm not one of these people that dwells on darkness or down, but it was just coming out of the hospital and realizing that, you know, someone had broken his arm. It was just a weird thing. And I think it was Monday or Tuesday he posted, and I was just like, this, yeah, rock the day. And then, you know, Sweet Beats and all those things. I love that versus battle. If people aren't checking it out, they should. It is, and I'm sounding like I'm advertising it, but it just makes you just go, hell yes.
It's great. It's great. So, okay, one last question I have for you before I ask you a few of the same questions that you asked me is, how do you feel as if this experience will change you in any way, or will change people in terms of how they interact, how they approach life? And what's the first thing you're going to do when you finally get out of here?
I'm going to hug people. The first thing I'm going to do. I'm missing hugging. Yeah, I hug my family, but you know, I'm a hugger. I know that sounds weird, but I hug you. You know, I'm a hugger, and that's something I'm missing. I'm missing seeing people that I can just give a big hug and just go, you know, I don't know why. I think that's my thing I'm missing. I hope, I pray that the social distancing doesn't carry on after. You know, I think that people are antisocial anyway. And I think this social media thing has kind of made people a lot more insular. And I'm concerned, that's my concern, is that, are we going to come out of this and are we going to interact less? And I hope we're not. And that's my, you know, what you say, my fear, that would be my fear. But then I would say to you, is the positivity of it is, you know, there's so many great new green shoots coming, new businesses from, you know, I mean, all of the things that I've been on, from House Party to Zoom to Microsoft Teams to, I mean, like, my day is full of different things. The one thing is, I don't know if I'd ever want to work from home again. Yeah. But that's my personal thing, is I love interacting with people. So I love actually being with people. And I also think travel. I think that travel is something that my mind always gets kind of, any country I go to, any, you know, you talked about Guy Bourdain, Bourdain on food, and you know, I think about your street markets in Singapore, and I think about the food there, and just the great noodles, the great things that you, like that chicken, you know, there's so many great things there that I'm missing, the kind of different cultures and different things, and also different foods. I think that's something I'm gonna, so am I missing? Yeah, but I love cooking, so, but I'm missing being in Singapore, or being with you, or being anywhere, you know. That's the thing. So,
and what are you reading at the moment, and why?
I'd love to say I'm reading something so profound and so amazing. Because I'm not a great reader or writer, I go through about 4 or 5 books a week on audiobook. So, so I'm a massive audiobook, and I know it's a bit late. I've got into Tom Clancy again, and I've been boshing through those, and Agatha Christie, of course. I would say to you, is like Shoe Dog and things like that. I've gone through Shoe Dog and I loved it. Also, there was a movie that Steven Spielberg did that wasn't as good as the book. The book was, it was all about I'll find it now. But it was a book that I'm obsessed with, and I've read it on audiobook 3 or 4 times. So I'm just going to look it up, because it's just Steven Spielberg. I know, I'm sorry. I shouldn't be looking at my phone, but it was just one of those things that I Ready Player One.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's a cool movie.
And but not the movie. The book is just amazing.
Okay.
if you love 80s kind of Atari, all the old machines that I grew up with, like, I was an 80s kid, kind of 80s, 90s kid, but it's referenced to all of those things. And in the book, you just go, got to listen to that. I've got to do this. I've got to, and it's like literally a voyage of discovery on Google afterwards.
Right. I think
so that was my thing.
Told us some of your favorite quotes. So I guess I'll end this by asking you, what cigar are you smoking?
So I think you gave me the advice, or Nick Falks gave me the advice on torpedoes, because they're better wrapped. And so I had, there's a secret club that I've been told about, the Cigar Club or some, that's been run by a friend of ours. And I managed to find a torpedo, and it was a Bolivar torpedo. And it's small, but it was one of those cigars that just, when you've got something that it was a perfect, like 20-minute or less, but it was just it. And from Nick's advice to your advice, I love something mild. I love something that is not going to knock my head off. Someone always says, when someone hands you a cigar and says, you've got to have a steak before the cigar, you go, oh no, please no. And where for me, I like something that, no matter what time of the weekend, I could have a smoke of it and I'd go, okay, that's fine. So that was and I'd love to tell you, I'm not referencing, because Nick will take the piss out of me for not referencing the right cigar, or Max will do the same, but it really is one of those things where I was just like, actually, it was perfect. It was perfect time. I smoked it with the guys, and I was just like, actually, this works.
Amazing. George, thank you so much for joining me. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for what you're giving to everyone also during this period. You are really contributing in a great way. Keep it going, and would love to see you and hug you when we get onto the other side of this.
Wait, you rock. Thank you so much, and stay safe. And really, I love what you're doing. Really, everything from watches to everything. You rock. Thank you so much.
Good job, brother. Take care.
Bye.